when I hire a coach, I'm really looking for somebody that has already been there, that can take me there, has the, actual items that I can do. It's a clear path, right? So it's making sure that I'm on the correct path, but actually advancing me way quicker. So I make sure that, and just like you, like, what is that ROI on that? And is it going to get me to my goal quicker and achieve more money than I thought that I could, and without the headache and stress of having to recreate the wheel from, ground up? Um, but yeah, definitely when she told me that number, I was like, holy shit. And at that point, I was like, okay, I know I want it. I know that if I need to make this payment of whatever it was, how many clients, what does that look like? And I reverse engineer it. And what I tell myself and what I told myself at that point, I said, if I really want to hire her, if this is truly what I want, I have to go out and find three more clients today.
Welcome to the Leading Lane podcast for real estate pros by real estate pros with your hosts, Ashley Frederick and Stephen Birch. If you're looking for an honest, authentic, and raw perspective, you found it.
All right. Welcome to the Leading Lane podcast. Today, we're going to talk about coaches needing coaches. And I think the reason why I want to bring this up is the fact that I think people sometimes think that, all right, cool, once we have a coach, we're done, everything's hunky dory, and I no longer need to advance and learn and get different perspective. But I really think in order to advance and to maximize when you're working with a coach, you need to make sure that that coach is actually investing into a coach for themselves so that they are advancing. And it's this whole chain reaction of, to pull one up, you have to invest in yourself, and then you have to be able to make sure the person ahead of you is constantly going as well. So, with that, Ashley, you have a coach as well, right?
Mhm. I
So,
do.
why does a coach need a coach?
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually thinking about that last night. Just because I'm talking to someone later about hiring me as a coach,
Mhm.
and in their like preliminary questions, it asked if they have ever been coached, and it said no. And I think that in me telling them, kind of about my story, if you will, it's important to note that like I started with a coach, right?
Mhm.
Like 4 years ago. And I think we've referenced, remind me the book with Michael Jordan,
Oh, relentless,
Relent, Relentless.
relentless. Close. I'm on one
Um,
today, so.
Yep. That's good. Right. And like, so Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, right? Like they're the best of the best in their game, but they still had coaches. And so I think for me, it was, I originally hired a coach just because one, like something felt off, but two, like I felt like I could be doing more, but sometimes
Mhm.
I was floundering as to like what to do, or it's, I could do all of this and whatever. So, I hired a coach, had that coach for 2 years. It was great, helped me break through a lot of things. I think it's, a matter of hiring someone that has a different perspective, but also
Mhm.
someone that's willing to challenge you and ask the tough questions. And then was probably without a coach for about a year, year and a half, and then hired another coach. And I think we talked about, that we were in the pool in Mexico, and I decided I was going to. And I think it's, like we're pouring ourselves into people by coaching, right? But we also need someone to pour into us.
Right.
And I think it's just a matter of, even when though you're coaching people, like there's still different ways to do that.
Mhm.
There are things you learn along the way. And we're not just coaches, right? Like we're still practicing, real
Mhm.
estate or
Mhm.
running other businesses, or maybe we have other goals outside of just coaching. And I think that it's important that you're always striving for the next best thing.
Mhm.
And I think that with that, there always comes the cost discussion,
Mhm.
you know? And I think people sometimes are maybe like sticker shocked, if you will. And I don't necessarily look at it like that anymore. It's even when I originally hired you, right? Like
Hmm.
2 years ago, there was an investment to be made. And was it a lot of money? Yes. But also I was like, to me, it's always, do I think that that investment will pay for itself? It's always the way that I try to look at it, right? And so for me, like I knew I needed to make changes in my business. And I think I told you that within like, I don't know, 2 months, the investment we made paid for itself, right? So I think that's the same thing with coaching. Like it's not cheap, nor should it be. I mean,
Hmm.
you're taking someone's time, they're pouring into you, they're giving you their best practices, accountability, etc. But it's really then on you to make those changes. But again, I always tell people like you're spending whatever, $2,000 or $3,000 maybe, right? You look at that over like 6 months, it's $15,000 is what you learned in 6 months going to change your business worth of $15,000. And like I
Hmm.
look at it as that was 5 new transactions that you wouldn't have got, then I mean it more than likely doubled what your investment was. So I think that people get really caught up on like that first big number and
Yeah.
then they're like, nope, for me. I don't know. So that's kind of my original thoughts. But what about you? You have a coach as well.
Right. Um, I do. And I can't lie. I got the sticker shock when she told me her
Mhm.
price. Um, and I think for me, what it was is that when I hire a coach, I'm really looking for somebody that has already been there, that can take me there, has the, actual items that I can do. It's a clear path, right? So it's making sure that I'm on the correct path, but actually advancing me way quicker. So I make sure that, and just like you, like, what is that ROI on that? And is it going to get me to my goal quicker and achieve more money than I thought that I could, and without the headache and stress of having to recreate the wheel from, ground up. Um, but yeah, definitely when she told me that number, I was like, holy shit. And at that point, I was like, okay, I know I want it. I know that if I need to make this payment of whatever it was, how many clients, what does that look like? And I reverse engineer it. And what I tell myself and what I told myself at that point, I said, if I really want to hire her, if this is truly what I want, I have to go out and find 3 more clients today. You know what I did? I found 4 clients, right? Like, so it gave me the motivation of knowing if I work just a little bit harder to offset the cost, now it's paying for itself because those are 4 more people I didn't have at the time to make the deal work. So I will also tell you that when I first was working with Laura, she told me we're only going to meet once a month. And here I'm coming off of a previous coach that I was working with that was weekly or bi-weekly type of thing. And I was like, that's all I get. And she made me really realize that, like, if I really need her every week, I'm not doing the work. I'm not critically thinking enough and I'm not putting enough effort into it to chunk this away like I want to meet my end goal. So she really put it in perspective and challenged me that was I really maybe leaning on somebody too much and not challenging myself enough to get it quicker and faster and more efficient. And so I think it's that coming from a compassionate place, right? But also, she's giving me a chin check of realization is from a different perspective of maybe my reality is a little fogged right now. And even on that first call, even before I even made the commitment, she provided me so much value that I knew that it was a no-brainer to sign that contract ASAP to get where I wanted to be able to go.
Well, I think, the other part of that is if it's not that much of an investment, then do people really put the time and effort into it? You know what I mean?
No.
Like if it's you're going to hire a coach for $100 a month, right?
Mhm.
Like that's like for a lot of people, they spend that on coffee or,
Mhm.
whatever else in a month. So I think it also does have to be, an important amount that like this is serious.
Mhm.
Like I have to put serious time and effort into this.
Mhm.
And I think that, the part of a coach having a coach is none of us know everything,
Mhm.
right? And I think we also can, even as a coach, as a realtor, like you can get stuck in your ways. You can be
Complacent.
complacent. Um, right. And unless someone's going to point to those things out to you or really push you as to like, what else is it that you're wanting to do?
Hmm.
How can we get there? I mean, again, you have to, I think that then that can trickle down to your clients because someone is asking you those questions.
And hearing you talk and thinking about this, like when we talk about ROI, really the ROI is not in the coach. And I get it that it is, but really the ROI is actually within yourself, right? Like if you want an ROI and you jive and they are exactly the proven method, the rinse and repeat type of thing. If you don't do the work, if you're not in truly taking it seriously, then that ROI is going to tank because of you, not because of them. And I do agree on the price wise of the if it's too cheap, uh, the people aren't going to come to you. Like I think that there's something in sales about having exclusive access. And a lot of people don't want the cheapest. And if they want the cheapest, we all know that that's not always the best. So you have to make that investment. Makes you serious. You're holding yourself accountable. And if you're not holding yourself accountable, your checkbook is holding you accountable. And from a coach perspective, if you're not going to show up, if you're not going to do the calls and you're not going to do the work, that's on you. I can't,
Mhm.
carry that and force you to do anything. Uh, So when you coach people, Ashley, like let's see if you have the same experience. It's really fun. You get to it's easier to see things in other people's business and other people's goals than it is to look at yourself and do that self-reflection. But in reality, when I coach people, I get way more out of it than what I initially thought that I was actually going to get,
Mhm.
right? Because I'm thinking like, ooh, I'm going to help them. I'm going to help them. It's all about them. But in reality, as a coach standpoint, it's actually helping me. It's making me walk the walk and talk the talk. And I think that only continues to help elevate me with my clients and then with my coach as well. And that really is, multiplying me even further in my career and helping more and more people and impacting their lives. So is that the same for you as far as like when you tell somebody to do something, then you're like, oh shit,
I should probably do that.
I need to do that. I need to step up. I kind of forgot about that.
I think that you're right. I mean, again, it comes back to the compliancy of it, of we get stuck in our ways. And, I think COVID, I've been talking about this a lot with people recently, like it had its pros for the most part, like target pickup, and whatnot. But there was a lot of negative that came out of COVID as far as like how you interact with
Hmm.
people, how real estate was uncharted territories
Hmm.
of you got away from basics
Hmm.
because you didn't have time to pee during the day, right? Like
Hmm.
you were doing 20 showings a day. Like I wasn't worried about sending out a mailer because,
Right.
right. So I think that now that things are a little bit more the norm, if you will, like when you're encouraging your clients to, reach out to a expired or reach out to a for sale by owner and they don't want to,
Mhm.
and you know that you don't love it, but I mean, are we looking to generate business or not, right? So it's kind of like the same question, same thing, like right then, like I did mailers, and so the things that we know worked, then we stopped doing them.
Mhm.
A lot of agents just stopped doing it in general. But I feel like you can't ask of other people what you're not willing to do yourself.
Mhm.
And I think the other point of that, you make a really good point, is that it's not just about numbers. It's not just about income. Um, for me, at least, like I've seen the people that I coach change as humans.
Mhm.
As far as just their demeanors, I feel like are better. I think other people around them recognize that. I think they go above and beyond. And I guess those are more important to me than just transactional because it's impacting someone's life. I also think that I've maybe seen it from an outsider, but maybe how they're impacting other people in their office
Mhm.
to do things, or like that to me is like this ripple effect that we're looking for. And I think that's just what maybe people get so caught up on, and like, because there's a lot of people that say a lot of negative things about coaching, a
Right.
lot of people. And I think to each their own. But I think that we're in a world where, especially when you're self-employed, it's really easy to get lost in the weeds.
Hmm.
It's really easy to get lost into, I could be doing this, or I could be doing that, or I should be doing this, but who's holding you accountable, right?
Right.
Like, you don't have someone be like, yeah, so you were supposed to do this, like, why are you not? And then sometimes it comes into like a something I wasn't expecting as a response, right?
Hmm.
Like, I don't think I'm good enough or whatever. And like, didn't think we were going down that path, right?
Hmm.
So it's like peeling back these layers of an onion really for people to see what they're really capable of. And I think sometimes when people aren't challenged, then that's when they just stay stagnant. They don't
Hmm.
change their ways. They start to drop in production or they start to become negative at
Hmm.
work, at home. And it's just a downward spiral, I think, if you don't have someone that's pushing you to really be your best.
Absolutely. And while you're saying that, the you and I were on a call with a another broker owner, and we were talking about a certain topic, and towards the end of the conversation, she goes, sometimes I'm glad, and I'm paraphrasing here. I'm really glad that we had this conversation, and I'm not crazy. I sometimes feel that I'm out here on this island all alone. And over and over and more I hear that of I'm alone, it's lonely up top, like, and really you're not alone at all. And I think that when we're dealing with high performers and people that constantly go like you and I do, there's really not a lot of other people on a local level that can think like us or want to think like us, understand really where we're coming from. So I think when you can start getting around and surrounding yourself with like-minded people and people that are challenging you and advancing you, and if that starts with an investment into a coach first to get you into the right table so that you don't feel alone when you are in your local market, like that right there is worth more ROI, in my opinion. There's no tangible way to calculate how much that is worth because year over year, if you're continuously doing that, how much is that multiplying your income and your productivity and advancing you versus being complacent and doing nothing about it? So I think that it's not just the transactional, like you're saying. Yes, it's the impact on the human itself, but also what is the longevity of this ROI, of how this is truly going to pan out from the next 20-year perspective of investment versus just now instant gratification perspective.
Yeah, I think it's a good question too when people are interviewing coaches is to ask, like that coach, do you have a coach?
Hmm.
Because again, like we're asking people to make an investment into us. Are we making an investment into ourselves? But
Hmm.
I will say that that's probably my biggest frustration is people will just say like, well, I don't have the money or,
Hmm.
money's tight. And I completely understand. Like when I first started coaching too, like I was like, "Ugh," like
Hmm.
that is not a comfortable number. But also I was also I'm not happy where I'm currently at.
Right.
Like I need more. And the only way I'm going to do that is again to invest. And I haven't to this day, like I haven't, as far as coaching, whatever masterminds, I have always recouped like what I put into it. I have
Mhm.
can show very clearly how it's been recouped. And I think that that's, you're right. People need to look at the long term. I know that sometimes my clients don't always understand why I'm asking them to do something, or maybe
Mhm.
it's not something that they like to do. But you're right. It's not about like we're just going to fix something overnight.
Mhm.
Like when you're trying to make these big of steps, there are things you have to put in place to keep it going for the long term.
Sure. And I think it's fun Well, when somebody says, "Oh, I can't afford it." And not that I can, judge on what they should be spending their money on or not. I'm not their financial advisor. But if I can see that you're going out to the bar every weekend, or you have Starbucks, right, all the time, or whatever it is that you do constantly. In reality, it's not that it's a financial issue. It's that is the excuse that you're telling yourself and allowing yourself to say that that's the reason. It's because you're not ready to make yourself a priority. And I think that there's some ick around being selfish. In
Mhm.
investing in myself means I'm selfish. I don't know when selfish actually became such a bad thing, right? Like it's being like it's only you. You have to be selfish. And so I think changing the mindset of, is it really I don't have the funds, or is it that I'm not ready to face the mirror and I'm not ready to make myself a priority. And I think that is really the true underlying issue versus the actual income, or excuse me, actual expense of the investment.
Well, and I think you make a good point. Like when I first hired a coach, I put it on a credit card. It's not
Yeah.
like I'm telling people to go, rack up credit cards, but it was just, I think it was originally like a 3-month commitment,
Hmm.
or a 6-month commitment. And, but also like by doing that again, like I think it made me really be like, well, if I'm going to pay this and if I'm going to put it on my credit card and like do whatever I can to get my ROI so that I
Hmm.
can do that. So I think that that's just where I know there are a lot of people struggling financially or whatnot, but if you just keep on sitting in the same boat, rowing the same way,
Yeah.
you're likely, upstream, like you're not going to go anywhere.
And really, like, my question then at that point is, tell me, how long can you afford not to make this investment? If
Right.
you, like, we have the broker fast track retreat that's coming up, and I get a lot that, that's a big investment, and I understand, like, there's travel, there's time, right? There's definitely, other than just the writing the physical check out of it. But if you already are struggling and you already are recognizing it, and this is a pathway, a blueprint to be able to literally clone into your own business, how long can you afford not to come? Because are you going to be closing your doors in the next year or two? Because you didn't want to make the investment, or you didn't. And that's the other thing too, is the time. You can't step away from your business. That's exactly why you need to do things like this, so that you have the ability to be able to step away from your business. You have the freedom and flexibility. You're not tied to your business. You're not in your business. You're working on your business. And I think that goes, I know that we're brokers, but that's from an agent perspective. That doesn't matter if you're in real estate or anything. Like, it does not matter what your position is. If you're not willing to make that investment, it's very scary of how long are you mentally and physically going to be able to stay in the state of a vicious cycle that you're currently in.
I remember you when I hired you originally. I remember like, man, if I would have done this 2 years ago, like
Mhm.
think of how much more
Mhm.
trajectory we would have had if we would have started 2 years earlier,
Sure.
right? So I think that, my advice to someone is just jump in. I mean,
Hmm.
like jump in head first. A lot of people don't require a year commitment or anything like that. I always tell people that too. Like I would never hold someone like if it's not working, we're not jiving. Like I would never waste
Right.
someone's time. I think the same way. Um, but you have to just try. You have to try it, give it a whirl. If you see your business start to change, then you know that it was well worth the investment.
Absolutely. And I want to share this before we end on this, is that last week I went up to your office, right? And we were working on some, policies and procedures, and different onboarding process and whatnot. And the reason why I wanted this topic is this right here. Me going up there, like, as much as I was there to help you and your team, and help out wherever I could, it really gave me the energy boost and the looking in the mirror, that as I'm going through our packet of policies and procedures and reading some of these things, I was like, that's not right. I haven't update that. That's not okay. How am I here, giving advice? And everything's not going to be perfect. I totally get that. But it really gave me the umph of, let me refocus on me again as well, and our company, and revamp some of these things and revise it. So as much as we are pouring into others, really, I think that's when, uh, whatever you put out, right, like, you're going to receive back. And that's what so thank you for the opportunity of me going up there. And Ben now has me hooked onto those stupid Starbucks brown sugar oat milk shaken things, whatever they're called. That thing, yeah. I mean, he just appears out of freaking nowhere with a coffee in his hand. Like, that's not good for me. I could get too used to that. But my point being is that, it's great to help others. And I think that's really when you get to start seeing where you can focus your time, so you can continue to, back on yourself, so you can continue to help others and can continue to impact lives in different manners. So, uh, give as much as you take, right? Or actually give more than you take, and help others when they need it, but also be able to just ask for help, and know that when you're in that area and need to change something, there's a pathway. Somebody's already done it. You don't have to recreate the wheel. Invest in yourself. Make sure you have align yourself with the correct coach, correct mentor, correct consultant, whatever it is, and make sure that you get yourself out of that rut.
Yeah. I mean, and I think in the meantime, right, like just surrounding yourself with the right people.
Hmm.
I mean, you and I offer ourselves, to people all the time for
Hmm.
phone calls that we're not coaching. I mean, that's the part of it is that, we hope that we can pour into them for a little bit of time and
Sure.
show them that. So I think that we all, because it is like you talk about, right, like being on this island. And I think that that's how it is as broker owners. You can feel like you're on this island and am I doing this the right way? And like,
Hmm.
right, this week we had a whole another change in real estate,
Hmm.
right? Like, but it's also, again, like, locally I can already see where the issues are going to come into, right? So again, just like almost a year ago, like we're going to have to lead from the front
Right.
and that's exhausting. And to be able to pour into other broker owners and just a simple text or a
Hmm.
call to just be like, how are you feeling? Can you help me through this? Make sure that I'm not crazy, even though I'm the only one doing it, right? But I think that having those networks of people truly can help move mountains forward. And then really investing in yourself. Like you said, we deserve to invest ourselves. Like, what are we on this planet for, right?
Right.
Like I'm here to try to impact other people's lives. And it's not just status quo. And I think that a lot of us want that next big thing. A lot of people just don't know how to get there, but you have to really invest in yourself in order to make a next step.
Agreed. Great conversation. And I'm going to leave today with something, I'm going to give everybody a challenge. My challenge is in the next week, text 5 people and just say, hey, how are you? Checking in. 5 people, simple text, people that you don't talk to regularly, people that you may not have the best relationship with. Challenge yourself, push yourself, and see what kind of reaction you get from texting those 5 people.
Great challenge. I'm on it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening in. As always, if you would like to be a guest on our podcast or have a topic that you'd like us to discuss, please reach out. We would love to hear from you.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share with others. Stay connected for more genuine insights and strategies to boost your real estate career on Facebook or check out our website. We'll see you next time.